Thank you very much. It's always very difficult to go after such inspiring speakers, but I will do my best. So my name is Sam Loni, and I'm the Global Coordinator of SDSN Youth, which is an initiative of the UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network, which Professor Jeffrey Sachs leads. And it was a network launched by the UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon to mobilize expertise and to find solutions for the Sustainable Development Goals. Can I just say what an honor it is to be here at Casina PO, at the Pontifical Academy of Sciences. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Monsieur Sanchez for hosting us in this beautiful and historic building. And I have been walking around since yesterday and just staring at the walls. There is a story within every staircase. There is a story within every stone, every tile, and it's amazing being here. In fact, I was out there and there were a series of mosaics, and I was told they were from ancient Roman times. And the stones that you walk on just out there were made in the 1600s. Isn't that amazing? And it just shows what a historic venue we're at, and nothing inspires people like a beautiful and inviting venue such as this. So once again, thank you, Monsieur Sanchez, for having us here. And also, can I say a special thank you to Gabriela Marino and our wonderful partners at the Academy for It would not have been possible without Gabriela's countless efforts. So again, thank you, Gabriela, and also to Federica, Alba, Leonardo, and all the other colleagues and friends at PASS who have been helping us. Thank you for your dedication. And if you do see them around, please do say thank you to them and have a conversation with them. And we're also incredibly lucky to be have the attendance of Professor Angelo Riccoboni, the chair of SDSN Mediterranean, Professor Virgilio Viana, from chair of SDSN Amazonia, Serena Cao from SDSN Singapore, and also Professor Sabina Ratti, and also Anthony Annette for being with us here today. And finally, I would like to recognize Dr. Parker. Without your generous support, this conference would not have taken place. So thank you, Dr. Parker, and mostly thank you for believing in the power of young people. Your support is the lifeline of our future generations, and we will continue to rely on it. And goes without saying, thank you, Professor Sachs. It's so honored to have you here. And you've just heard from him. He is a pioneer of youth empowerment and SDSN Youth. His vision, expertise, and tireless, and I mean tireless efforts, not only inspire millions around the world, but they're also an inspiration to me personally in the SDSN Youth team. We have a lot to learn from him. So a big thank you to Professor Sachs. And of course, our team at SDSN Youth, so John Ferrugia from SDSN Australia Pacific, Gabriela Sampaio from SDSN Amazonia, Fabrizio Saladini from SDSN Mediterranean, and Andrea Zucca from SDSN Italy, and Isabel Perez from SDSN Spain and New York. And finally, a huge thank you to all of you. 50 of you from more than 30 different countries are here with us at the symposium. And we saw last night different attires and different clothes and different cultural symbols. We all gathered and took beautiful photos with the SDG squares. I think one of them is actually missing, so if you do find it, please report that one in. I believe it's goal 16, peace and justice. So if you see it walking around, please hand it back. So that was so beautiful to see, and that was part of the idea, bringing from different cultures. I think that's where the magic happens. I've had the honor and pleasure of looking at your solutions, the 50 different solutions that we've had from each of you. It's been truly inspiring to see these solutions evolve. And over the next 2 days, you'll be working here to bringing these to life. And SDSN Youth is here to support you and provide assistance with your leadership. And I hope that we can make some of these solutions come to life once we leave this place. And if they do, I think we'll be making true changes in our local communities and around the world. So as you all know, the theme of this conference is human trafficking, the world's fastest growing global crime. 1.2 million children are trafficked every year. It's the second largest source of illegal income worldwide. 800,000 men, women, and children are trafficked across international borders each year. Approximately 80% are women and girls. Up to 50% are children, minors. The majority of traffic victims come from poorest countries and poorest strata of national populations. You don't need to be an expert in human trafficking to know that these numbers are astronomical and they are, more importantly, unacceptable. We cannot sit aside and watch the most vulnerable human beings suffer like this, but too often we do. But if we want to end human trafficking, its horrific impacts on society, we must look at its root causes. Human trafficking does not occur in a vacuum. It is a symptom of other larger problems in society, which come in many shapes and forms, and as Pope Francis refers to them in his book, there are hunger, gender inequality, poverty, indecent living conditions, discrimination, conflict, corruption. These are the real problems which create a fertile market for human traffickers. And this brings me to the Sustainable Development Goals. The theme of this conference revolves around SDG 8 and target 8.7 specifically. But if you look around, the conditions that lead to human trafficking are with every goal. Every single one of them somehow impact. Again, we cannot solve human trafficking without looking at all of these. And this is the exact thinking that made us focus this conference on the SDGs and its wider framework to overcome such crimes. People are less likely to be victims of or the perpetrators of human trafficking and such other horrendous crimes if their families are well-fed, they're healthy, educated, and they live in decent and peaceful and inclusive societies within healthy environments. That's the truth. So let me ask you now, as delegates, if there was an agenda for the future of humanity, what are the 3 characteristics you would attribute to it? 3 things about an agenda for the future. I would want it to be ambitious, the most important thing. I would want it to be revolutionary and transformative, and I would want it to leave no one behind. No women, no children, no men, no indigenous people, no older citizens. And that's what the Blue SDGs are. They're referred to as the most ambitious agreement of the 21st century. They're officially referred to as a transformative agenda. They're revolutionary. If they are achieved, it will lead to true transformation. And finally, the official motto of the SDGs is leave no one behind. Think about that. To leave no one behind. What a wonderful world that would be. And I was there with Professor Sachs in the SDG conference in New York in September when 193 world leaders came and adopted the goals. Some of them reluctantly, but they did in the end adopt them. And we were there when Malala Yousafzai spoke from the podium. And initially, nobody listened. Diplomats started walking around. They weren't looking up, they were networking and preparing for the next sessions. This is after Pope Francis spoke. And Malala turned around to them and said, look up, the young generation is speaking to you, look up at us. And that was a beautiful moment to see. So what are the 3 characteristics we can attribute to young people? I would say young people are idealistic, they're creative, and they're big in numbers. We're half the world's population, 3.5 billion young people under the age of 30. And if we want to achieve the SDGs, the ambitious agenda, we need to be optimistic and we need to be idealistic. If we want to achieve this transformative agenda of the SDGs, we need to be creative. We need to look at new ways of solving things. And finally, if we want to leave no one behind, we have to make sure that 3.5 billion young people are on board. And they are active agents of this agenda. And you can only look back to some of the greatest men and women in history to see what they achieved when they were young. Albert Einstein, he came up with the theory of relativity in his 20s. Charles Darwin, theory of natural selection in his 20s. Martin Luther King Jr., he did his Montgomery bus boycott and his major campaigns. It's all started in his 20s. Marie Curie, most of her groundbreaking research in her 20s. Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook. Elon Musk and a lot of the work that he's done and continues to do. Malala, when she was 16. And King Wanchok of Bhutan, who made happiness the indicator of national progress when he was 17. And finally, Professor Jeffrey Sachs, who was 27 as a professor at Harvard and continues to do amazing things. Creativity is the essence of what young people do. And I think if we can marry this creativity to the experiences, to the knowledge, and the power and the influence of all the generations, that's when we'll have true magic. Intergenerational effort to achieve the SDGs. And in his book, Pope Francis refers to this. It's the section called Justice Between the Generations. He says, what kind of world do we want to leave those who come after us? To children now growing up? Intergenerational solidarity is not optional, but rather a basic question of justice, since the world we have received also belongs to those who will follow us. That's the essence of sustainable development. It's simple as that. So let me finish off with an ancient poem from a famous Persian poet, Sa'di, who said, human beings are part of a whole, in creation of one essence and soul. If one member is afflicted with pain, uneasy the rest will remain. If you have no sympathy for human pain, the name of human you cannot retain. Finally, don't underestimate your creativity, your idealism, and your numbers, because the world relies on them. It relies on you today as you gather here, and tomorrow as you leave here. History and Galileo is watching you from these buildings. Let's make it count. Thank you very much.